Hello everybody, welcome back to Dominions 5. First of all, let me say apologies for the really low volume on the first few videos in this series. I didn't realize, well, I had turned the mic settings down for some reason, and I've turned them back up. I hope this should be appropriate. I don't have a very strict and professional way of recording things. I kind of just do it. And I don't go in and do any post-processing or editing afterwards. But these settings should definitely be better, as I can tell by actually looking at the sort of equalizer now. I just don't want it to be, too high, to go in the red, so to speak, and I don't want you guys to get all the popping and the cutoff and stuff like that. You can always fix it by turning your mic up if it's too low, but you can't fix sort of clipping if I record with too much sensitivity. Anyways, let's get going here. This is the tournament finals, and we should be on turn 31. And before we look at this turn, let me just remind you of what has happened. This is a brand new recording session for me. It's been a number of days, maybe even a couple of weeks since I did the first batch of episodes. So we we had pretty good expansion. I was quite happy with our expansion. Then we went into our first war and lost everything, lost our entire army. But we didn't lose, we got a bit of land. We didn't gain much. So that's not a great outcome, but it's also not the worst outcome. If you look at... Right, there's a few things that can happen. You could have your first one, you can outright lose it, right, and be threatened by the opponent. Like you lose the big battle and then the opponent is going to come and kill you. That is bad, right? Or you could really stalemate and just the war drags on and you're stuck in it forever. So this is a better outcome than that because we have a bit of land and Pythium is dead because now he's dealing with Ys, who's way stronger than me. So if I don't do anything now, I'm still further ahead than I was when I started, except that I don't have that big army. So that's a huge lost opportunity, because if I had that army, suppose Ys had just invaded Pythium, I had left him alone, and I had just vultured a few provinces here. Then I'd have a big army, and I'd be in a great position to, say, go in and invade Vanheim or do whatever else I wanted to do. So it's not the worst position, but we are a bit weak compared to our neighbors. So if we look here, we have Jotunheim and Ind. Both of them Jotunheim didn't have amazing expansion, but he did get Naba itself, the capital, though not much of the other land. Looks like Ind had decent expansion and also got a chunk of land out of the fight with Naba. So both of them got something out of their initial war, and I don't think it cost them a lot to do that. Ys, by far in the strongest position. He now has uncontested control over the water, and he has taken a chunk of Satis over here, and he's taking a chunk of Pythium, and in fact will probably get the Pythium capital itself. He's in a super strong position. Satis is dying. You would think... So Vanheim is actually in a similar position to me, except I don't know what he's doing, in the sense that why hasn't he taken Satis yet? Is sort of a bit of a mystery to me. He's kind of very, very slowly taken this fort. Actually, let's take a look at this battle. Okay, it looks like there's nothing much left here. By the way, his bless is Rainbow. Attack +5, magic weapons, shock resistance, poison, cold resistance, defense, strength, blood surge. So it's just kind of buffing basic stats. So he's got very high attack. The problem with this bless, with respect to fighting Ulm, is that they do no damage. They have a very high chance to hit. They'll always hit my guys and then do 0 damage. Because even with blood surge, 12 piercing is nothing against 25 prot or whatever my guys are going to have. So I'm really not afraid of his Vans in sort of a big fight. His Berserkers actually can hurt. I don't know if he has any in this fight here. No, this is just Siege Chaff. These guys actually do damage, but the Sacreds not so much. Yeah, I would expect that Vanheim should have been able by now to capitalize on Satis's position and take it all, but he hasn't, and that's weird. It's also, but the main reason it's bad is because it's letting Satis get it. Right? Satis now, he got underwater control very fast. Now, due to my failure, Satis is getting a cap here from Pythium. And due to Vanheim's failure here, although it's not clear that he had a fight that he lost, I think he's just slow at doing this. Then Ys is getting Satis's land and Satis's cap. Now here we have a war between Vanarus and Bandarlog, and that just seems to be ongoing. So I think that's just like a stalemate. It's not clear who's winning. I mean, it looks like Vanarus has the upper hand, but Bandarlog isn't going down easy. So that's sort of in some ways, a worst case scenario than what I'm facing, because he's still kind of stuck. He can't just like Vanarus can't just peace out and go do something else, because Bandarlog's not going to let him, right? He's going to want to get his stuff back. All right, that is the state of the game right now. And in terms of research, we have our Evocation 6. A little late, but we got it. Right now, I'm going to change my research priorities a lot, I think, in the next few turns, but I'm heading up to Thaumaturgy just to get my own Ulm version of Anti-Magic, which is cast with Earth Magic. So we'll see if that turns out to be useful. I'm still stacking troops up here, trying to reform into a reasonable army. And with the hopes and the idea, Ys is willing to let me take this province if I can. So that's what I'm going to try to do. The problem is he still has a ton of his mages here. So I'm hoping that he spends his strength trying to defend his capital from Ys, and then I can take this. And in the meantime, I'm going to try to grab a bit of this land here before Ys really takes everything, or before Vanarus gets greedy here and tries to take something. So that is what is happening this turn. So that was turn 31. Let's go to turn 32. Okay, so we raid. Here we go. Okay, so this is Pythium's heroic last stand against Ys. You notice a distinct lack of actual troops. And Ys has a whole bunch of bats that he's recruited from the neighboring Zotz province. And they're just attacking right off the bat. And by the time the cavalry gets there, there's not a lot of time for the mages to do much. Now, that being said, Pythium's mages are doing great work. Partly it's because he's got great buffing and fluffing going on. So they're all ethereal, lucky, things like that. Now, the Movarks do have magic weapons. So being body ethereal doesn't matter too much. But because of the communicants, he's able to get into a communion right away. And he actually is able to, get a bunch of spells off. A lot of fluffing off. He also got some swarms off early on. So he's able to last a surprising amount of time. He's also got Astral Shield, looks like, which is why these guys are all... Either that or he's just casting Paralyze. Moss Body. Yeah, a lot of buffs. Turns out it's hard to kill these guys, so they've got Astral Shield, Lucky. Oh, he's got a chill built in. Is that built into the Bless? No. He must have just cast it. There's regen. pretty surprising when you think about it. This is Movarks, and look at how much trouble they're having killing, like, humans. Just plain old regular humans, because they've got... So he's got some Undying. They're really lasting a long time. But now they're fatigued out. There's only a couple more spells left. Alright, let's speed up the end here. Jeez, they just won't die. Oh, because they've got Protective Force too. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Well played by Pythium here in this battle. Can you imagine if he actually had a wall of chaff? This could have been absolutely devastating. And now this is his god. All right. So in the end, so he loses everything. The Emperor, his Archtheurgs, Theurg, Acolytes, all this stuff, his communicants. You know, he kills 5 knights. I mean, the Black Hawks were just the random chaff that East was recruiting to help siege down, which is a great unit. He loses a champion. This is not... Obviously, this is not a fair trade. Like, East slaughtered him. But considering that there was absolutely no chaff whatsoever, this is impressive. And I think if he had had some chaff, this would have been... he could have extracted many more casualties from East. But as it stands, he couldn't do it. Okay, anything else happening here? We haven't watched one of these battles in a while, but this is pretty one-sided. He's taking a fort, yeah, with a bunch of berserkers. He's fighting... Okay, there's actually not much to watch here. And then... Oh, see, that's interesting. So he rallied out of the fort. That's weird. I wonder if there was a misclick here. Because this is East attacking, storming Pythium. But it looks like there's a bunch of troops here. Oh, maybe these were troops that were summoned. Although not the Rotariates. These look like they were summoned troops, and so that's why they didn't come out of the fort when he attacked outside the fort. That's probably what happened. Okay, we get some knights attacking us again, which is annoying. Now, I believe that this is the turn that Big Diplo is happening. As you can tell by the way I'm moving all of my troops. Now, let me just double check. Yes. All right. So what I'm going to do, because this is future me recording, is I am going to... So every turn, or almost every turn, I've been sending messages to Lucid, who's casting the game, just keeping him abreast of, what I was thinking and the strategy, and also the Diplo that's going on. And I haven't been reading them out to you guys, because I assume Lucid will be reading them on his stream, so I don't want to double the content, and also I'm trying to go through these turns a little quickly. But this one is important because I want to capture the information that I had at the moment. So let's go through the messages that I've sent. And this is like my recap to Lucid for what's going on. So, epic turn in diplomacy, the background. People have been talking about some sort of coalition to fight against East for a while now. But things aren't quite as they seem. People were afraid of East, as I've been mentioning. He's scary. But who can potentially fight them? Well, Vanarus is still fighting with Bandarlog, although Vanarus is actively lobbying for people to fight against Ys. He's kind of seeing, he sees the painting on the wall, right? The writing on the wall, to mix our metaphors here, and knows that Ys is going to be a big threat. Vanheim is kind of doing his thing, not doing his thing here, so we're kind of, like, ideally, Vanheim would take Satis to deny it from Ys, and then it would be Ind, myself, and Jotunheim that could fight against Ys. Now, Ind has a nice border with Ys over here, where he can challenge Ys for a lot of his ground holdings, which is good. Jotunheim doesn't have a land border with Ys. So for Jotunheim to join this, it would be like him raiding underwater with Scrotty or something like that. And there's a problem with that if you're the Jotunheim player, which is that imagine there is a coalition that forms to fight against Ys, right? So imagine Ind starts to take this land. Vanheim starts to take this land and pushes him. I contribute and also push him out of Pythium, whatever, and we all succeed on land on getting him back underwater. Meanwhile, Jotunheim is raiding with Scrotty here. Well, what's Ys gonna defend the most? Like, if he loses on land, he's just gonna stay underwater, and he's gonna kick Jotunheim out of whatever he's raided, right? Jotunheim can't conquer Ys underwater. It's very unlikely. So, it's a tough sell for Jotunheim. Like, if we had Satis strong and alive, Satis can kind of go underwater, you know, with Skelespam and do stuff. But Jotunheim alone raiding is unlikely to hold on to the stuff that he's getting unless he has a plan, unless it's much later in the game and he has a plan for actually conquering him underwater. But it's really hard to conquer an underwater nation as a land nation. So Jotunheim is very skeptical about this plan. Generally speaking, Ind is skeptical because the Ind player is suspicious that people are trying to manipulate him to do something, right? It's not that he's necessarily opposed to fighting Ys or whatever. He's just suspicious because people are suggesting to him, hey, you should fight Ys. And then he's like, wait, why are you telling me I should fight Ys, right? So, all right, continuing. Jotun with underwater Scrotty might be the only one who can fight underwater, but probably in truth doesn't want to commit to that. So who could his next target really be? Who could Jotunheim's next target really be? Meanwhile, Roos proclaims loudly he wants to counter Ys, but doesn't have borders. He is suggesting that he'll put frozen seas in 8 to 10 turns, but probably is hoping others will fight Ys in proxy wars until then. With the weak area around Satis and Pythium, it turns out I may be the only nation in a position, if I wanted to actively slow Ys's spread by challenging him for Pythium. So I have a nap with Ys. We have a nap, but I could try to bump him with my Guardians. Meanwhile, Vanheim has been brooding and silent all game, and I don't have a nap with him, so he might attack me at any time. Does he want to do that or try and finish off Satis? To be continued. So then later, I had written that first part of the message. Then later I get a message in Discord. So Jotunheim, with whom I've had a nap for a long time, announces he will end his nap with me. We talk about it for a bit. He has a few options. So Jotunheim tells me this turn he's ending his nap. So we had a nap 3. So I'm obviously try to diplo him out of it, right? So Jotunheim could attack me. He could attack Vanarus. He could attack Ind. And so I say I'm clearly weaker. If there was a big coalition versus Ys, it might make sense for him to commit to that. But in truth, the only relevant nations right now that could commit to fighting Ys are me and Ind isn't interested. More on that later. I suggested to Jotun that if left alone, I can at least slow Ys down in Pythium, so fighting me would force me to pull back and let him grab another 3 forts. So, I suggest to Jotunheim, don't fight me, because if you don't fight me, I will go and fight Pythium. I will go and fight Ys over in Pythium and slow him down there, and I might even be able to take like the Pythium area from Ys. And if you do fight me, then I'm going to have to pull back from that, and that's going to give a lot of land, valuable land, to Ys, who's like running out of control with the game. So that's what I suggest to Jotunheim. Then I turn around and I talk to Ind. He is more concerned with Rus than with Is. He does not want to upset a potential growing balance of late game power between himself, Rus, and Is. He thinks he would be being used as a proxy. He even suggests that if I'm about to be 2v1 by Jotun and Vanheim, he might join in too. So Rus has been trying to lobby players to act against Is, even though Rus doesn't even border Is at all. Rus is saying he's going to put up frozen seas and stuff like that in a bit. But Rus's Diplo with Ind has kind of backfired. Ind feels that Rus is a very strong power in the game. I think this is not entirely accurate, but Ind thinks so. So Ind doesn't want to fight East because he thinks, Ind does, that Rus is, that by doing so, it's going to help Rus too much. And that would upset the balance of power. I think this is an incorrect assessment of the strength of the relative strengths of the players by Ind. And I also think this is a failed and bad diplomacy on Rus's part, because he has totally failed to get in on his corner, right, against Is. Now, this last part does totally make sense. Like, if Jotunheim was attacking me and Vanheim was also jumped in, because I don't know what Vanheim's going to do, then I could totally understand why Ind would want to jump in and grab a bit of land for himself, right? So I get that. So I need to stop this from happening. In order to survive, I need to have either Jotun or Ind as my ally. So I float the idea to Jotun that maybe if we can't get a coalition versus Is, that me and him could fight Ind together. So I'm proposing to Jotunheim, wait, don't attack me. Let's instead both of us fight Ind. We could do it as a 2v1. And then I suggest if Vanheim is about to attack me, then it would just be a 1v1. I could turn around and fight Vanheim, and Jotun could turn around and just fight Ind. So I don't hear back from Jotun. I suggest that to Jotun, and I don't hear back from him. Then, so because I haven't heard back from Jotunheim, I turn back to Ind. And I suggest to Ind that instead, why don't we team up against Jotunheim? So, in other words, Ind is at peace with everybody, right? I'm about to be attacked by Jotunheim, and I also don't have a nap with Vanheim. So it's likely that Vanheim attacks me. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know what his plans are. But what if I got Ind to attack Jotunheim? Then it would be, well, let's read what I wrote. So if the three of them go against me, in other words, if Jotunheim, Vanheim, and Ind come after me, Ind isn't going to get a ton of land because of where Vanheim is positioned and the way he can sail. Ind is going to get like a couple of forts, and that's it. Then, while that happens, East keeps getting bigger, Rus keeps getting bigger, and now he has to deal with an even larger Jotunheim and an even larger Vanheim as his new neighbors. Ind rightly worries about what will happen if Vanheim gets involved. So, if I'm suggesting to him, let's attack Jotunheim together, but then what if Vanheim gets involved? Then it can kind of break down into two 1v1s. So I personally think Ind could take Jotunheim, and I feel okay about 1v1ing Vanheim. However, Ind seems preoccupied with fighting an offensive war against Jotunheim in his dominion. So that's because Ind is afraid of fighting Jotunheim in his cold dominion, where Jotunheim's going to be really strong. So I suggest we flip it on its head. So if Jotunheim is going to end his nap with me and fight me, I'll fight him 1v1, and Ind can just take on Vanheim. Ind has been thinking about fighting Vanheim as his next target. Vanheim has been sort of cagey the whole game. And so what I suggest to Ind, and what he eventually agrees, is that let's us be allies and buddies, and we will fight what will probably end up being Jotunheim and Vanheim, with me focusing on the fight with Jotunheim and Ind focusing on the fight with Vanheim. I would have preferred to move on to Vanheim as my next target, but beggars can't be choosers, and a 1v1 versus Jotun is the best I can hope for right now. The only outstanding issue is how the border with East will be settled around Pythium, and whether Vanheim is really about to attack me, or if he intends to try and finish off Sitis. So, with regards to this border, East has been willing to let me try to take this fort, and it looked like I was about to do that, but now I can't, because I gotta rush back to defend against this terrible thing that's about to happen to me here. But I'm not letting... I haven't told East that yet, because I don't want him to go and take this, right? Or I want to delay that. Now, I am going to raid and take this little stuff that I can take, but it's really the bad timing. If I had like 2 or 3 more turns, I could move this army, take this fort, and then move back. But as it stands, I'm going to eventually have to let Pythium take this. Let East take this. I won't be able to contest him. I'm just using my diplomacy right now to kind of stall him, to delay the gains that he can make in this situation. So, Jotunheim is going to attack me. What is Vanheim going to do? I mean, I've always suspected he wanted to attack me. In his position, like, I don't know to what extent he's coordinated with Jotunheim here. Like, he can elf me. Normally, him just elfing me alone, I think would be a failure, because I don't think he's got a good matchup against me. Like, his elves are really bad against my units. But with the combination of me fighting Jotunheim, it could be crippling for me, and he could get a lot out of it. I still think that Sitis is in a much, much weaker position than I am. Now, maybe he's making the calculation that in a 2v1, he would be able to get a lot from me. But if I were Vanheim, I would finish off Sitis. I would commit to finishing Sitis. Let me and Jotunheim weaken each other, and then come in and backstab me, right? Like that. That is a totally legit thing to do. Because imagine if he pulls off a great elf alpha strike against me and Jotunheim cripples me, then Vanheim gets a bit of land. Whoever goes for my cap is going to pay for it really, really hard. So it's not clear who wants, that pleasure. But he would end up with a bit more land, but a much, much stronger Jotunheim as his new neighbor. And he still doesn't have Sitis. Meanwhile, East is going to take Sitis. So, like, if you look down the road, like 10, 15 turns, that's not a great outcome for Vanheim. Conversely, if he takes Sitis, then pieces that, and then comes and attacks me, maybe. Like, I think attacking me is always going to be a good option for Vanheim, but I think the issue is timing for him. And everybody's got to deal with the elephant in the room, which is, like, nobody's fighting East right now, and East is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so that is the diplomacy for this turn. Now, what are we doing? We're in panic mode. We got to turn around and get ready to fight Jotunheim. It is turn 32. Our god is not online yet. We do have a pretty decent stack with a lot of guardians that we've been building up. And we saw that Jotunheim is not only relying on his sacreds, but he's also been putting sacred Shrouds of the Battle Saint on his Scrotty to make them sacred, to get his regen blessed. So that's even better for my guardians. So we're just going to try to redeploy all our forces and be sad about the fact that our throne, which we couldn't afford to fort up, has just been taken over by Knights and Militia. We're fortunate in that only Jotunheim can really get this throne. Like, the geography here kind of prevents other players from getting it. Okay. Let's get through our 5 turns that we've been doing every episode. That was turn 32. 3 more to go. Things are about to slow down here, guys. Okay. Research and alteration. We'll look at this in a moment. What's the global that just went up here? Mother Oak from Bandar Log. So Bandar Log is fighting a defensive war, but he still has time to cast Mother Oak, so he can't be doing so poorly. You can see here that East has decided, all right, well, I'm going to take it because you can't, so you know, I couldn't do anything about East taking all of this from Pythium, so we're in bad shape. This province, which I raid with a tiny amount of dudes, has like this unbelievable site. 2 air, 2 nature, 2 astral, 1 water, 1 death, 1 nature. This is like a global. This one province is like a global. What an amazing province. So I'm glad I continued raiding there. Okay. Oh, meanwhile, we unfortunately we didn't catch the first fight. So Jotunheim attacked this mega scary throne, but we didn't have the one turn we didn't have a scout there was when he had the big fight, so I didn't catch it. Now he's just cleaning up whatever was left because he just barely didn't do it, didn't pull it off on his first attack, so he's cleaning that up with a Scrotty. This, by the way, is the throne of bureaucracy. So you lose gold income, but you get Dominion conflict bonus, and you get order plus 1. Okay, any other interesting fights? I think this is a bump. Yeah, that's it. This is what's relevant here, is that East has now moved on top of Cetis. Also, there are no more Vanheim troops on the Cetis border. So Vanheim has decided he's not going after Cetis, so he's almost certainly coming after me. So we're moving our slow armies back. Let's move on to the next turn 33. So it's going to be turn 34. Okay, here comes the elfing. So we get elf by Vanheim. Hilariously, some of his attacks just outright fail against PD, so I forget what happens here exactly. So air shield, mist form, blessing, flight, attack rear. Oh, he just like doesn't kill the commanders because they have... No, he does kill the commanders. My guys should be... I don't know why my guys haven't routed yet, because I think all their commanders are dead. Oh no, it's because I got a scout. It's because I had a scout in this province who went up front and was fighting... Where's the scout? Here he is. Oh, the hero scout. Okay, and now my guys are all retreating, but not completely, and they're all just kind of killing him with little one-hit. Oh no, he got profuse bleeding. That's what happened. He bled to death. Oh, poor guy. All right, that's one elf down. A little van raiding party here. We were killing some barbarians. Okay. 21 Einheers. More vans. He kills the PD on Ulm with a big stack of sacreds, although he loses a number of them, including one commander. Oh, one just runs away. Did he run away because of morale, or did he actually get killed? That's weird. Anyways, he loses a few vans. I mean, most of these fights are all just against PD. Okay. So, East is going to wrap up Cetis. Looks like that's his next target. Our Pretender is online, finally. Okay, let's look at the map so you can see where we got elfed. Remember that the idea here is that Ind is going to come and fight Vanheim. Unfortunately, Ind is taking like his sweet time to get this started. So I'm on a timer here for Jotunheim, who's about to invade me, but I got to deal with being elfed first. If Ind had been able to attack right away, then I would not have gotten elfed, and I'd be in a much stronger position to fight Jotunheim. But right now, I'm in a 1v2 for a little bit, and that really hurts. So he's on top of these two forts. He's not going to siege them down, but it stops recruitment. And he's taken these two provinces and also this province. So we are set up to break siege here. let me show you a few things. So first of all, the general formation is just we're pretty forward because we want all our evocations to do things. He's got cavalry that's going to hold and attack rear, but we've got sacred killers that are on hold and attack cavalry on the sides here, on two flanks. And we've got like a middle chunk of just flail dudes in the middle. And then we got more flail dudes like on hold and attack closest in the back to catch attack rear flyers. And then we got a ton of mages doing Ulm stuff. And then we have Assistant Branch Manager Mike, the Allfather, who is finally online and has a lot of paths, but what he's going to do is Summon Earth Power, Power of the Spheres, Wailing Winds, Healing Mists, because that's what he can do for now. And we've got a few Death Gems, so we are fine. So that's the plan here. I've got a secondary army in place here in case he moves off or whatever. And yeah, let's just go to the next turn. So that was turn 34, and turn 35 will be, I think, the last one for this episode. So notice a lot of things attacking Ulm. All right. We've gotten... all right, actually, well, okay, let's do the battles first, and then I'll wrap up talking about a bit more diplomacy. So we're being elfed some more. Werewolf. Okay, so we've got the first werewolf attacker here. With Vine Shield, Frostbrand, Death Hat, Sacred, Boots, and Bracers. You're going to see a lot of these guys with this kit. So obviously he kills the PD. Okay, more elves. More elves. These elves fail. Because we thought he might raid here. Maybe we didn't. Maybe this was just luck. But we happen to have a dude here. And we happen to have about like 15 guys with flails and axes. So watch what happens. Oh, by the way, they get Legions of Steeled. So they have 26 protection. These vans do 19 and 13 damage. That is not enough damage to kill troops. Also, my guys hit like trucks. So you see, like, yeah, these guys have high defense, but they just don't do enough damage. Like, they just don't. So this guy's getting harassed down. If he gets hit once, like, he'll just die. Chop. There we go. And chop. You see, there's like no red numbers, and then when there's a red number, it's 20. So as soon as one attack hits, it just does like, it's like 26 slashing damage. They don't have any protection. Yeah, so we lose 4 dudes, and we killed his commander and 7 sacreds. So that feels really good. Here, he's just raiding with regular troops against Barbarian PD. He loses a few. Battle on Ulm, unfortunately, he does not stick around on the capital. I was really hoping he would. Okay, here is the big army from Jotunheim, or a big army from Jotunheim. So, what do we have here? We have a long line of sacred giants, a little blob of sacred giants in front. Then we've got a Scrotty Thug here, and looks like we've got a Communion battery, like a Turbo Communion basically set up here. We've got some Scrotty batteries back here, and then a bunch of mages and blood slaves and whatnot. So that's going to be fun to deal with. A werewolf attacks us where we had our sort of secondary army north of our capital. But we do not kill it. Somehow we cause it to rout. I guess it doesn't have a flesh eater, so it's not going berserk. Yeah, I think we just chunked it, and it leaves with 6 hit points. Because I think I've got a bunch of... Yeah, I have some of my crossbows and indie crossbows. Yeah, we just did a ton of damage to it, and it just decided to run away. Okay, more elves. More elves. This is not quite a Scrotty Thug, but it's just like a recruitable Dude Thug, which is also strong. Also has Water and Death, Cross Paths, Sacred, and he's got him kitted out with some nice thug gear. More elves. Satis fighting back against Vanheim. Good for you, Satis. More elves. Satis. A chief. A battle in Bandarlog, who clears out some of this sieging force. Actually, this looks like an interesting battle. Sorry, we're opening a big parentheses here, but looks like he's got a bunch of his monkey riders. So Moss Body is what Van Roos is relying on here. But there's a nice little monkey communion here, which is just mind burning. It's funny, he doesn't have like Soul Slave, but he has mind burned, and it's good enough, apparently. Combined with all of his sacreds. These are the summoned sacred guys. They're very strong with high protection and awe. Although awe against Berserker is not fantastic. But combined with the mind burn, yeah, oh, he wrecks this. Costs him, well, the Gandharvas don't die, the Asparas die mostly. So well done by Bandarlog there. More elves. Okay, guys, we're done with the elves. So at some point, maybe Ind is going to do something. But right now, we're on our own. And you can see we've been elfed really hard down here. We've lost control of all of this land. Now, this fort is a little out of the way. But these other forts here, like, he's unlikely to be able to siege them down. The problem is I've got to defend on two fronts. And I've got a massive Jotunheim army in here. Now, fortunately, I had a bunch of... like sappers, and I have a bunch of dudes in here, so he does not one turn pop this. So I have time to react. So what I'm doing here is I'm consolidating my army into one giant death stack in this province here. And that will give me the flexibility to either deal with Jotunheim or to deal with Vanheim if he tries to go on to Ulm itself. I literally can't do anything about Vanheim raiding me and taking all this stuff because I got to deal, you know, I've got a death stack here coming in from Jotunheim. This is what the map is going to look like for a bit, where I have no control over my own land. It all becomes Vanheim's land. But I'm really actually fighting a war against Jotunheim because I can't afford to send troops down here. I need them. I've got two raiders against me, right? Elf raiders and then Scrotty Thug raiders, both of which are very tricky to deal with. They can cover a lot of ground really fast. My guys are really slow. However, as you saw, like a small army like this just straight up kills elves. And honestly, this can straight up probably kill a Scrotty too. Maybe it needs a bit more. Maybe double this can kill a Scrotty. So it's tricky for them, but I have limited resources that I can spend to defend myself here. I just wanted to mention that I am actively trading with Ys. And that is going to continue because I have no gold income because I just got raided. Like, I lost all my income to Vanheim. But I still need to keep recruiting dudes. So I start trading stuff to Ys. Items that I happen to have lying around in my inventory. Just straight out gems. I forged stuff for him. So Ys is giving me a ton of gold so that I can keep fighting this war. And then I am sending him whatever gems and stuff like that. Now, none of the stuff, like the items I'm forging, he could forge for himself. So I'm just giving him mage turns, basically, and gems. And we're doing it at a fair price, which is about 20 gold per gem on average. So Ys is just filthy rich, I guess, because he controls all this land and all this underwater stuff. And instead of, you know, and he's conquering forts. He doesn't need to build more forts. So he's doesn't have, I mean, if I weren't doing this, he would be recruiting tons more chaff, sieging down things faster, building more forts, getting even stronger. Instead, I'm helping him kit up his thugs. But he's not fighting me, and I need to survive, so you got to make choices, and that's the choice that I am making. Okay, this has been a pretty long episode. We're going to call it quits here, but things are about to get real spicy as we're fighting a 1v2. Now, shortly, Ind is going to come in here and actually start fighting Vanheim. But this is going to be a really exciting part of the game here. Especially, you can imagine there's a big fight coming up here between me and Jotunheim. Obviously, that'll determine sort of the future of the game. So either I get crushed here and then I just die, or I don't and then things continue. So stay tuned and see how things unfold. I'll see you guys in a bit. Take care.